Good Vibrations, 2012 film based on the real life story of Terri Hooley, an important figure in the world of punk rock, of Irish punk rock music. So the film takes place during the 1970s and at the very beginning of the 80s in Belfast. Now, that was basically the height of the Troubles, the civil war in Northern Ireland between the Unionists and Nationalists, with IRA and the bombings and so on. If, like me, you didn't know too much about it beforehand, I would implore to read about it on the internet because it is a fascinating subject and a rather complicated and deep one. Nonetheless, Terry Hooley is shown as someone who lives on the outside of all of that, ideologically speaking. He was a pacifist first and objected to taking a stance in the conflict. And to kind of live what he preached, he establishes a record store in Belfast with the philosophy that music is something that can, if not unite, then at least be enjoyed by people on both sides of the barrier. Shortly after opening the store, named Good Vibrations, he expanded further onto the music scene by making Good Vibrations into a record label as well. He produced and sold albums of local punk rock bands in an effort to make them more popular, more recognizable, and give them a voice which he felt was lacking from, especially from the side of English record labels based mostly in London. And the movie tells that story of his ups and downs in the midst of the civil unrest. And I think that that's the key strength of the film, the balance between a mostly heartwarming, charming story of this one guy and the frightening setting all around it. The film doesn't shy away from constantly reminding us that regardless of how much positivity Hooley is able to spread, he still lives in a city consumed by war and hate and senseless violence, often directed at innocent people. It also helps that Hooley himself is presented as a rather complicated character. He's a very charismatic and likable guy, yes, but he's also got a lot of integrity, as shown by him never really selling out to profit off of the bands he worked with, but rather going the opposite way and even getting in personal and financial trouble trying to support them. His shop bankrupted a few times, as is mentioned in the film, because Hooley was awful at managing the financials. He also couldn't let his passion for music be anything else than his top priority in life, even when his son was born, and that led to his marital problems. He would get in trouble with the police, with the local gangs. He had strained relationships with his wife, with his father. He was fundamentally a good man, yes, certainly, but a flawed one. I do also want to mention that the way the technical aspects of the film fit the story quite well. The way that the movie is shot and scored using a lot of authentic punk music from that time gives it this electric energy throughout the runtime. It's very dynamic, it's very fiery, it's very charismatic. It also does a terrific job of just transporting you into its world, whether it was the warmly lit interiors of Hooley's house, or the cigarette smoke-filled bar rooms, or the war-torn and graffitied streets of Belfast. I constantly felt I was there. I was there on location with the characters. I also went online after the movie ended to read up a little on Hooley and Good Vibrations, and as far as I was able to tell, the film is rather faithful to the real story. I didn't notice any glaring omissions or embellishments or deviations from the truth. It is just very honest about what was happening and who were the people involved. So, all in all, I think it's one of those films which serve as a window to a different time and place, a postcard from a period long gone. And as such, as this bittersweet examination of the Irish punk rock scene in the midst of the Troubles, I think it does a really solid job.